Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bandho Moy Sarvadana Mate Bandho Moy Sarvadana Jara prasade bai e bhavatori jai Jara prasade bai e bhavatori jai Krishna prapti jai te Krishna prapti Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Jite Chikori Akya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Jite Chikori Akya Arana Kori Mane Asa Arana Kori Mane Asa Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Utama Gati Shri Guru Charane Rati Ese Utama Gati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asa Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha Shakudan dilo jai janme janme Prabhu se 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 Divya Gyan Dire Prakashito Divya Gyan Dire Prakashito Prema Bhakti Jate Avidya Vinasa Jate 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 Vede Gai Jara Sharito Vede Gai Jara Sharito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu 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 Lokena Lokera Jivana Lokena Lokera Jivana Aha Prabhu Kora Doya Deo More Pada Jaya 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 Ebe Gyasha Gishu Tribhuvana Ebe Gyasha Gishu Tribhuvana Prabhupada Patita Pavana Prabhupada Pavana Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dinamine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasudhyadeshadarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prajarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Vasudhyadeshadarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Jaya Radhanath Shri Radhe Radhanath Shri Radhe Jaya Radhanath Shri Radhe Radhanath Shri Radhe Jaya Radhanath Shri Radhe Radhanath Shri Radhe Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Giri Govardhan Jaya Gora Hari Jaya Gora Hari Jaya Gora Hari Nitai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada.
Shrimad Abhay Charanar Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astotra Sata Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj ki Ananta Godi Vaishnavinda ki Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki Brindavan Dham ki Mayapur Navadvip Dham ki Nilachal Jagannath Puri Dham ki Ganga Maya Jamuna Maya ki Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki The Lordship Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki The Lordships Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Maharani ki, The Lordship Shri Shri Nitai Gaura Hari ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So wonderful to see everybody here at our Sunday Love Feast program. On behalf of the Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Temple and the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, founded by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, a very warm welcome to today's Sunday Love Feast program. So as we usually do to commence our program today, we will have a short video snippet of our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
We want this temporary material enjoyment. Then according to the body, there is enjoyment. In the ant's life, there is also the same thing, eating, sleeping, sex, and defense. And in the Lord Indra's or the King Indra, the heavenly king, he has got the same propensity, eating, sleeping, mating, and defense. So if you go to the moon planet or sun planet or the topmost planets, wherever you go, the four things will follow. Eating, sleeping, mating, defense, and birth, death, old age, and disease. So long I shall remain in this material world. I may be Lord Indra, Lord Brahma, or President of America, or this or that. You cannot avoid these four things. That is material existence. That is the problem. But if you want to solve the problem, then this is the process giving. The nivito. Annavilasita sunnam. Don't aspire for material enjoyment. Enjoyment is there. Don't think that if I stop my material enjoyment, then my life of enjoyment is finished. No, it is not finished. Just like a diseased man, he is also eating he is also sleeping, he is also having other duties. But that he is eating, sleeping, and a healthy man's eating, sleeping is not the same thing. Similarly, our material enjoyment, the eating, sleeping, mating, defense, that is with full of dangers. We cannot enjoy it without any hindrance. There are so many hindrances. So if we want that uninterrupted happiness, happiness is there. Just like a diseased man, he is also eating, and the healthy man is eating, but he is having bitter taste. A man with jaundice, if you give him sugar candy, his taste is bitter. That's a fact. But the same person who is cured from the jaundice disease, his taste is very sweet. Similarly, in the material condition of life, there are so many inabilities. We cannot enjoy life fully. If you want full enjoyment of life, then you must come to the spiritual platform. Dukkhalam asasatam. This material world has been described in the Bhagavad Gita that this is dukkhalam. It is the place of miseries. Then if you say, no, I have made arrangement, I have got now nice bank balance, my wife is very nice, my children are also very nice, so I don't mind, I shall remain in the material world. Krishna says, asasatam. No sir, you cannot live here, you will be kicked out. Dukkharam asasatam. If you agree to stay here in this miserable condition of life, that is also not allowed. No permanent settlement. Tatha dehantara prapti. So these problems, where is the scientists? They are discussing about this problem. But the problems are there. Who wants to give up whatever family he has got? Everyone has got family. But nobody wants to give up his family. But by force he is taken up. The man is crying, I am now going, I am now dying, what will happen to my wife, my children? He is forced. He must get out. So this is the problem. So where is the solution of the problem? There is no solution of the problem. If you want solution of the problem, then Krishna says, Māmapeta kauntiya dukkhalam asasatam nabhvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramangata. If one comes to me, Māmapeta, then he hasn't got to come to again in this material world full of miseries. So, yes, Sukadeva Goswami is suggesting that you become devotee. Your all problems will be solved.
Hare Krishna, very wise, profound words by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So it is indeed my absolute honor and privilege in introducing our speaker for today, and that is Her Grace Champakalata Devi Dasi. Let's give her a very warm welcome. Mataji is a devoted disciple of His Holiness Indradumna Swami and a respected member of the Hare Krishna temple here in Chatsworth, the Sri Sri Radha Radhanath temple. In addition to her spiritual practices, she is a devoted mother and a successful attorney. Her commitment to child protection has made her an invaluable asset to the community, and her legal expertise has been called upon on many occasions. Her dedication to both her family and her community is a shining example of the balance and harmony that can be achieved through devotion to Krishna. Mataji is also ISKCON's Justice Minister And Mataji actually has many caps. She wears many caps, of which I think it's too much for me to mention today. But she is indeed such a sweet, wonderful, and humble devotee. And we are all very, very delighted today to listen to Mataji's class. A humble request to please switch off cell phones or turn them to silent mode. His Grace Sakshi Gopal Prabhu will sing Jai Radha Madhava, and thereafter Mataji will have her class.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namo Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishayasa Sunyavadi Parsacharya So Tarine Namaste Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachare Yamuna Tira Banachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrindaya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Huyam Sankirtan Ke.
Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shwayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much for joining us today at the Sunday Love Feast program. I have been requested to present, it's actually my presentation that I did. So it's actually a presentation based on the final assessment that we had to do for our Bhakti Vaibhav course. And so it was thematically based, and I think over the next few Sundays, other students as well will be presenting. So it's not based on a particular verse, but it's based on a theme from Srimad Bhagavatam. And the theme that I had selected was lessons in leadership from ideal kings in Srimad Bhagavatam within the first 6 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam. The 3 personalities that I identified to discuss this topic with was Prithu Maharaj, Yudhishthir Maharaj, and Parikshit Maharaj. However, given the limited time that we have as well, I don't think I'll be able to cover all 3 of these personalities, the lessons that we could learn from them. And my prime focus will be on Prithu Maharaj, and particularly on the Ashwamedha sacrifice and the incident between Lord Indra and himself, facilitated by Lord Brahma. So, as the topic suggests, leadership in Srimad Bhagavatam, it looks at the role of a king or a leader in society. And we look at society currently, what do we see around us at the moment particularly, or at any given time we find this, but I think it's become more pertinent now in the wake of the recent affairs, particularly in the Middle East, with Iran and the US. And in this instance we see, and we could reflect and contemplate and contrast these incidents to how previous rulers, how kings of bygone eras, how they ruled and what an ideal ruler should be like. So we look at this historically and now, and we know that kings don't necessarily are an establishment in society currently, and they are more of figureheads and executive roles as opposed to decision-making roles. So in the way government is structured right now, our leaders, we could say, are the politicians, are the state president, are the ministers in parliament, and not a king. In countries where kings exist, like we see in the UK, we have King Charles III, but we see the role is more of just as a monarch, not necessarily in a position to make decisions that are going to affect the citizens of that country. And when we look at the state of world affairs, like I've just mentioned, it's the leaders, it's the politicians that are actually carving the society that we live in. And what do we see about leadership? Leadership currently is often associated with authority, power, and personal gain. But the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the ripened fruit of Vedic wisdom, presents a strikingly different ideal. Kingship is portrayed as not self-serving, but more of stewardship, of making sure that everyone is well taken care of, that the citizens are well provided for, that they have no fears, they are protected, and that all their needs are taken care of. So I want you, during the course of this presentation, to also consider what leadership means to you. Because leadership does not only mean if you're in a position, that you hold a position and you have a leading role to play, but you're a leader in your own, context at home. Maybe you're a parent, maybe you're a spouse, maybe in the workplace, but you also have a role, a leadership role that you are playing on a daily basis, whether you know it or not. You are taking decisions for others, you are guiding others, and so I want you to also think of how you play a leadership role in your life. So like I mentioned, leadership from Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially from the examples of the kings, we see that there is one of stewardship, not self-serving dominion, and kings were known as Raja Rishis. They were saintly persons, concerned with the welfare and protection of their citizens, their subjects, and ultimately, the greatest good one can do for another is providing them with spiritual liberation. And that was the main role of the pious kings. So in this context, I want to start off by speaking a bit, giving some context to Prithu Maharaj and how he came about and how he appeared. And to this end, he was the son of King Vena, and I need to speak a bit about King Vena himself. So King Vena was a very, you can see here the king is being taken down by the bishop. So it's figurative in this sense. So King Vena was a tyrant as a king. He oppressed the citizens. He prohibited Vedic sacrifices, and he wanted to be known and accepted as the supreme object of worship. So he was not a pious king whatsoever. He was totally against these Vedic sacrifices. The one good thing, though, because he was a tyrant, was that there was fear amongst the citizens. Not just the citizens, I would say. Citizens shouldn't be fearful, but rather the thieves and the rogues. They were sort of like subdued during that time because of fear for him. That was the only good thing that happened at that stage. So the brahmanas, the sages, this is also an example of how leaders should be appointed in society, or how kings are anointed and their coronations take place. It's by the brahmanas, the sages. They would decide. And in this instance, they realized that, it was a very, the situation was not one conducive for the citizens, for society, and they didn't wait for the Kshatriyas to do something. The Brahmanas decided, we need to take him down. And by a slew of mantras that they chanted, they killed King Vena. But as a result of that, there was a kingdom with no king, which is also not a good thing, because that gives rise to all these thieves, robbers, and all these other persons that could now surface and create more chaos and havoc in the world. So in this context, they decided that, we can't just leave it like this without a king. We need to get a pious king, someone that is going to re-establish religious principles, is going to protect the citizens. So as a result of this, they knew that King Vena had actually come from a very pious line. And so they decided, with their worship that they did and with their mystic powers, that they were able, from the upper part of King Vena's body, to create two personalities came up from the upper part of King Vena's body, and that was Prithu Maharaj and Archie, who is then married, right? So he is, in one sense, a descendant of King Vena, but he was the pious part And as a result, first, I'm not going to go into too much of details, but from the lower part of the body came a personality that embodied all the negativity and all the sinful aspects, and then thereafter you could see the good came out there, right? So his divine emergence was, he was born after the tyranny of King Vena, at a time when the world was in chaos. And it was a divine response to restore dharma, religious principles. It is said that he is a Shaktiyavesh avatar empowered by the Lord to restore righteous governance, and he was the expansion of the Lord in the form of his ruling personality. Right? And we see his humility at coronation. Even when the sages were glorifying him, and they always, you know, I think even we see here in with our Zulu king that you have praise singers. They come forward before the king arrives and the great personality comes forward. There's praise singers. They are glorifying this personality. So likewise at his coronation, there were like all these hymns that were being sung and recited, and all in glorification of him. But Prithu Maharaj stopped them, and he basically said, why are you glorifying me when I haven't as yet exhibited these qualities? And this in itself is a lesson for us to learn as well. And he is basically setting the ground rule that we should not accept someone just based on, you know, being told that this person has these qualities, etc. The person needs to display these qualities. So sometimes we have people who claim to be incarnations of God or to be God themselves. But unless they've displayed and demonstrated these abilities, and I'm not talking about, you know, some sort of mysticism, because you have many yogis in India who have mystic powers, and they can display certain, you know, or demonstrate certain sort of things that you might think, wow, this person must be God. But it's very clear in scripture as to what are the qualities of God, you know, and the markings that he appears with, etc. So in this way, Prithu Maharaj was already, you know, establishing how does one test, and that one should actually not just accept praise prematurely, one should actually display those godly qualities. So I'm just going to read the English here. The reciters continued, Dear King, you are a direct incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, and by his causeless mercy you have descended to this earth. Therefore, it is not possible for us to actually glorify your exalted activities. Although you have appeared through the body of King Vena, even great orators and speakers like Lord Brahma and other demigods cannot exactly describe the glorious activities of your lordship. That's from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 16, Text 2. And I just briefly want to explain some other wondrous pastimes of his. So like I mentioned right at the outset, the world was already in chaos because there was this, and I could say, well, I don't want to use the term demoniac king, but it was a very sinful king. And the planet itself, Earth, was being oppressed, and as a result of that, there was no produce, right? So there was no produce being emanating from Earth. So we see that, and sometimes people say, oh, the Earth is not producing, or there is a famine. You know, we speak of famine, we speak of droughts, we speak of all of these things. And we say it's possibly also because of overpopulation. But here's a typical example given from Srimad Bhagavatam that it's not actually overpopulation that results in food shortage. There's ample grains, vegetables, fruits. It's just that the earth would held her bounty. And so Srimad Bhagavatam, we find this incident here where Prithu Maharaj approached earth, the planet itself, into inquiring as to why she was withholding her bounty. And that is significant because you see how he approached her, and then she took the form of a cow. she took the form of a cow, and we know that when cows are meant to be protected, so he couldn't harm her. So he had taken out his bow and arrow, and he was ready to strike Mother Earth. But then she took the form of a cow, and she fled. He began to chase her. But as he continued to chase her, she surrendered to him. And it also gives us an example, when someone surrenders to a leader, he has to give her some shelter. And in this sense, we see that Prithu Maharaj, he had this conversation with the cow, Bhumi Devi. And in this conversation, we see the example of empathic listening as well. How important it is to listen to what the citizens have to say. How important it was for him to hear what was the concern of Mother Earth, in the sense that why was she withholding her bounty? And eventually, it was because she wouldn't produce at a time when irreligion and when the king was unrighteous. And so exploitation actually leads to barrenness. Prosperity is not from plundering, but by harmonizing with nature's laws. He also flattened the earth by taking his chariot and going across the planet. He was able to flatten the earth, and for it, to make society places for people to live nicely, and for agricultural purposes. So it was just hilly areas were flattened, etc. And then he also, followed the sun to regulate seasonal changes, to regulate the hours of the day and night. And so you see, he brought a lot of harmony in terms of nature as well. And this was his potency, that as a king, he took care of all the needs of his citizens. During his reign, ideal social order was based on natural qualities and responsibilities. So this is the Varna Ashram Dham's principle, where they showed the interdependency of the various Varnas. The Brahmanas, being the heads of society, would give guidance. He would take guidance from them, and you can see they established him as the king as well. And in turn, the Kshatriyas would give protection, and they'd give protection to the Vaishyas and the Sudras. And as a result of that, Shri Shri Radharana, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. And as a result of that, there was a lot of prosperity. And you can see the Shudras were engaged in service to the other Varnas, and taxation was very fair. So with his taxation as well, I'm just going to say something very briefly from this translation here. King Prithu will distribute his mercy equally. Similarly, just as the sun god evaporates water for 8 months and during the rainy season returns it profusely, this king will also exact taxes from the citizens and return these monies in times of need. So taxes were not collected to fill the coffers and fill the pockets of the leaders of society, but kept to be used and put back into the needs of society itself. So kings took on the role of Raja Rishis to rule on behalf of God. They were the representatives of God. And they understood fully, completely. We see the peace formula in Bhagavad Gita as well. Bhaktaram yagya tapasyam sarva loka maheshwaram suridam sarva bhutanam gyanatvamam santim richati. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 5 text 29, Krishna says, a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So these kings knew that nothing belonged to them, and everything was to be used in Krishna's service, and everything was owned by him. And Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita refers this to the peace formula. And there we could see that because of this, citizens lived without fear or scarcity. And the kings were totally concerned about the spiritual well-being of all citizens. So here's another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam as well. And you can see how concerned the king was for the spiritual welfare of his citizens. These are the kind of instructions he was giving his citizens. Prithu Maharaj advised his citizens, engaging your minds, your words, your bodies, and the results of your occupational duties, and being always open-minded, you should all render devotional service to the Lord, according to your abilities and the occupations in which you are situated. You should engage your service at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead with full confidence and without reservation. So he's speaking about Varnashram there. Then you will surely be successful in achieving the final objective in your lives, which is, of course, spiritual liberation, to go back to Godhead. And here it's very instructive, and I think this is what leadership means, not just seeing to the material needs of citizens, but ultimately ensuring their spiritual advancement, their progress, and their ultimate liberation from the cycle of birth and death. So here I have a quick comparison of different aspects with King Prithu and modern leaders, and the lessons that we can learn from this. But I just want to move on to the focal point of today's presentation, which is, and I think this was the topic that was put out in terms of what would be discussed today, when is 99 greater than 100? But let's start off firstly. Is 99 greater than 100, or is 100 greater than 99? I guess everyone would say, when you count, and what you learn in school as well, is 99 comes before 100. So naturally, 100 is more than 99, right? But then I want you to think of this. If you sat in an exam and you studied, you really studied very seriously, with a lot of energy, a lot of time invested in it, and you spent your time trying to get to grips with understanding the concepts that you were going to be tested with. And when your results came back, you scored 99%. And there was somebody else who had a cheat sheet with them, and they scored 100%. So, which result is the better result here? Can that person scoring 100 really be the better person, the greater person, the person who deserved that 100, who is worthy of that 100%? Or is it that person who scored 99, didn't get a full mark, but still, he's the better person? His 99 is actually worth more than that 100%, because that person obtained it by cheating. Likewise, if you work sincerely and you come home with a salary of 99 rands, it may not be a great salary, maybe it's for a few hours of work or something, and if somebody else cheats and steals money, steals a 100 rand note, which person feels better about themselves? They may not have that 100 rand, they may have 99 rands, but still, that 99 rand, isn't it more valuable than that 100 rand that was stolen by this thief? So in this way, it brings me to the point of the Ashwamedha sacrifice that Prithu Maharaj had, embarked on. So this sacrifice is one of the activities, especially it's for the welfare of the citizens. So we know that, there's Vedic sacrifices that take place, and in this way it is for prosperity for the citizens. It's, to get, for their well-being, to satisfy the demigods and also the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Vishnu, to satisfy him, and for the person who's performing that sacrifice to gain a lot of piety. So the ultimate, and I think we need to bear this in mind, what was the ultimate reason for this Ashwamedha sacrifice? It was for the benefit of everyone. Now, so the Ashwamedha sacrifice is the 100-horse sacrifice, right? And there was one personality, Lord Indra, the king of the demigods, who held this title. He already held this title of Shatukratu, meaning the person who has performed 100-horse sacrifice, right? And then now here we find King Prithu, who has already performed 99 of these sacrifices. And he's about to achieve that 100th sacrifice. You know, and the sacrifice, the sacrificial horse, what happens? As he's, conducting the 100th horse in that sacrifice, and when we speak about these sacrifices, it's not that they sacrifice and kill the animal. The 100th horse, if the animal, an old animal goes into the fire, and if it is performed correctly, it's tested by the way that it would emerge from the other side of the fire with a rejuvenated young body. It's no killing of the animal here. So what happened was the horse meant for the 100th sacrifice was stolen by Lord Indra. And Lord Indra stole this horse. And as he was going away, fleeing with this horse, it was noticed that he had stolen this horse. And in this way, we also see that he was disguised. How did he, come and steal this horse? He stole it in the disguise of a sannyas. So he was wearing sannyasi clothing, the garb of a sannyas cloth, danda and things like that. And so the Prithu Maharaj had 5 sons. So one of his sons chased after Indra and was ready to kill him. But then when he came closer and he saw that, well, he didn't know it was King Indra. He saw that it was a sannyasi. Now you can't kill sannyasis. It is irreligious to kill a sannyas. So he stopped. He brought the horse back and he came back. And then he was questioned, like, why didn't you kill him? He says, no, I can't kill the sannyasi. But I got the horse back, so let's start the sacrifice again. And the second time, the very same thing happened again. So, and he chased after, he got the horse, and he came back, but he didn't kill the sannyasi. So what we see here, this incident actually demonstrates how irreligion or religious practices become converted or twisted, and how persons in the garb of religious persons can exploit others, can get involved in cheating, because this is what was happening. And you see the pride of Lord Indra. Why did he do this? It was because of his pride, because he was envious. I am the person that holds this record of 100-horse sacrifice, the Ashwamedha sacrifice. If Prithu Maharaj does it, he becomes my equal. I don't want to have an equal to myself. And can we see how sometimes maybe, unconsciously, but that trait may very well enter into our minds. Envy can enter into our minds. Pride can enter into our minds. And how we don't want someone to be our equals. So in this way, similarly, it shows that King Indra, who is the king of the demigods, is also subjected to the 4 defects that we have, the cheating propensity. And in this, and Prithu Maharaj now was very, very angry. He wanted to go and kill King Indra. But then the Brahmanas stopped him. They said, no, don't kill him, because this fire sacrifice is not meant for sacrificing a human being, a personality. It is for sacrificing an animal like the way I described it, not actually killing the animal at that too. So they decided, we will invoke certain mantras and then we will finish Indra off. But at that point, Lord Brahma came in and he had to stop this. So Lord Brahma intervened and he spoke to Prithu Maharaj. So when he spoke to Prithu Maharaj, he basically told him, you should give up this 100-horse sacrifice. Just be satisfied with having done 99 sacrifices. So let me ask you, this was not the 10th sacrifice, it was not the 15th sacrifice when this happened, you know. It was not like he had done 10 of these horse sacrifices, 12, 13, 14, 15. He had already gone to number 99, one short for 100. Why should he stop it? Okay, I can stop something if I'm like still in my early stages. I haven't really put in too much of endeavor in it. So I'll write it off right now, you know. But we think, you know, if you had to be put into that situation where you've actually one short of something and you're being told, give it up. Just end it here, stop it now. How inclined would you be to stop this process? And also, why would you have to do this? You know, why should you? He's the one that's cheating. Go stop him. If Brahma came, you would probably say to him, why are you talking to me? I'm not the defaulter, yeah? He's the defaulter. He's the cheater. He's doing the wrong. Go to him. And that's what we do generally in life. Sometimes you are in a situation, whether it's in your work situation, whether it's in your home situation, in your family situation, and I know parents probably when they have a few children and the children are, you know, both want the same thing, and then probably approach the older child, assuming the child is a bit more mature, and say, you know what, let your brother have this now. And you're calling on the sense of that person's maturity, and sometimes you probably take the child aside and say, give it to him, I'll get you something better. Right? So just like this, Brahma, he chose to approach Prithu Maharaj as opposed to Lord Indra, because he felt that Prithu Maharaj was the more mature person, firstly. You know, he'd be more submissive. We already seen the stubbornness of Lord Indra. The fact that every time he took the horse and Prithu Maharaj's son came and got the horse back, it didn't stop him. He was like fixated. I'm not going to let this happen. I need to stop this horse sacrifice. He cannot have the same title as me. He cannot be as equal as me. So I'll go back and I'll steal the horse again. But in this way, Brahma could already establish, he's not going to listen to me. He's so full of pride and envy. I'd rather approach the person who's more sensible, who's more submissive, and whose intentions in doing the sacrifice is not personal. He didn't really need this title. He was doing the sacrifice for the benefit of his subjects, for the citizens. And therefore, in this instance, you see that, you know, there's a few submissiveness versus stubbornness there. We see how stubborn Lord Indra was, and we can see that when asked to stop the sacrifice, Prithu Maharaj surrendered. He submitted to Lord Indra. He submitted to him, he accepted. Now for him to submit as well, you must remember the lesson to be learned here is often we as well, we won't submit to just anybody telling us stop this now. That person would have to be someone we consider as an authority figure, someone whom we respect. So he respected Lord Brahma, and he accepted him as his authority figure. We also see flexibility versus rigidity. We see that Prithu Maharaj was flexible in this regard. You know, and sometimes we need to be flexible as well. We may have a plan. Sometimes you have a vision board. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve. This is how I want to get to that goal in my life. And this is how I'm going to do it. But not everything happens according to your plan. So you have to be flexible as well. And we see according to time, place, and circumstance, we have to adjust. And ultimately, you have to surrender to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That has to be acknowledged. You can have your plan, but Krishna has his own plan. And in this way, because Prithu Maharaj was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, he could understand and he could be flexible. So we see this flexibility, that he accepted providence. And he also, I think, importantly here was he understood, if I continued with this 100-horse sacrifice, already irreligion is creeping in. And it's being introduced by Lord Indra in this way. And this is how irreligion and cheating in religion started, was introduced into society, is by this incident here with Lord Indra. So if I had to continue, it will give him more opportunities to create more cheating or more irreligious principles to enter. So for the greater good, I will let this go, so that at least more irreligious principles will not be introduced in the name of religion, or by persons being portrayed as religious. So you see how he gave that up, that sacrifice, for the greater good of protecting religious principles, for the sake of Dharma. But Lord Indra clung rigidly to his selfish ambition. We also see responsibility versus attachment. He was not attached to attaining that title of Shatukratu. He wanted to be responsible, do the responsible thing in these circumstances. We see his dependency on Krishna versus Lord Indra's insecurity. He was insecure. Oh, I wouldn't be recognized. Sometimes if someone has this very unique position, then, they have all that honor that is heaped on them. But if somebody else also has that title, then you know what? He's not so great after all. Somebody else also has that title. So, and this is why Indra was, in this sense, he was clinging on to that title because he was insecure. We see how envy comes in here, and we see how forgiveness comes in here. Because when Brahma instructed Prithu Maharaj to not proceed with the 100-horse sacrifice and just stop at 99, and when he submitted to this request of Lord Brahma, and by the way, another thing we see here as well is the role of Lord Brahma. Does this not sound like a mediation to you? And we could take out principles from here on how to mediate, what an expert mediator is. And we see also when Lord Brahma was, facilitating this, although it was like no three parties, Indra was not party to this discussion, but we also see the principles that he brought in here, that he was also considering Lord Indra's pride and also his position. So he didn't want to, and sometimes as a leader, you might find yourself having to negotiate a situation or mediate a situation. And how this happens is like two persons in responsible positions, maybe in leadership, and one comes, complaining about the other one. So you don't really want to offend the other person who's being complained about, because he's doing valuable service too. But he needs to be rectified. He is doing something wrong. You don't want to hurt the person who's come with the complaint and feels aggrieved because it hasn't been addressed to his satisfaction. But at the same time, by hauling this other person in and wrapping him on his knuckles in the presence of the complainant may not be the ideal situation, because you still want to encourage the other person to continue with their services, to realize their shortcomings. That's what Brahma wanted to do here. He wanted Lord Indra to realize his shortcomings. And by just chastising him, he wasn't going to. If a person has already got so much of pride, he's not going to, if you have a conversation with him and you say to him, what you're doing is wrong, he is not going to be very receptive towards it. But by Prithu Maharaj forgiving him, it makes him become introspective. It makes him, Indra, reflect on his shortcoming, and that, you know what, that 99 sacrifices are greater than my 100 sacrifices, because he has better character than I have. And Prithu Maharaj then earns his respect, and he becomes humble in his... Okay, I'll try to get... And he, he gets... it's a lesson for himself, but Lord Brahma didn't have to instruct him. By him observing how this transpired, he comes to that realization by himself. And so Lord Vishnu, being so pleased with Prithu Maharaj, actually comes and embraces Prithu Maharaj, and he brings Lord Indra along with him. And Lord Indra begs for forgiveness, and Prithu Maharaj forgives him wholeheartedly. So even in this act of forgiveness, it's not like bearing grudge, oh, I'll get back at him later, or I'll do something, or I bear this animosity towards him going forward. He stopped it. Okay, I did it. I did it for the sake of Lord Brahma. He didn't have that attitude. He did it because he realized, you know what am I doing the sacrifice for anyway? And it's for the benefit of the citizens, and therefore it's already achieved because Lord Vishnu is pleased. I don't have to do this to please Lord Vishnu, the 100th horse. So same like this, we have the Sankirtan Yagya. That is the Yagya for this age, the chanting of the Lord's holy names. And you will please Lord Krishna simply with this Yagya. So forgiveness transformed Lord Indra's envy to humility, and one's true strength is actually knowing when to yield, when to stop. And it was not a defeat to Prithu Maharaj, but it was actually a great victory to him. So we see as well in this instance, and I'm going to stop here, there's so much more that could be said about Prithu Maharaj. We see the aspects of character. It's not about accomplishment, oh, I've got this title, etc., but it's about the character of the person. And, you know, what is amazing is that we see these principles, just from one incident like this, of this 100-horse sacrifice, that we can learn so much in terms of lessons that we can learn in terms of forgiveness, in terms of knowing when to yield, in terms of our dependence on Lord Krishna, in understanding the true purpose of sacrifice and worship. And especially in an age like this where we see so much of conflict and self-interest, these examples, by such pious, saintly kings are stark difference and basically examples of what true leadership is. And this brings me to in conclusion, to the verse from Bhagavad Gita, Yad yat acharati stretas tat tat evataro jana sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by his exemplary acts, all the world pursues. So we can see, we should look at these examples from scriptures and use that just in terms of our own self-development and how we can improve ourselves as well. Okay, so I'm going to take a few questions now. Someone asked, what will be the first role as an ideal king to his people? We see here from Prithu Maharaj's example of his role. He took up leadership at a time when society was in chaos, at a time when there was famine, there was insufficient grains for the citizens, etc. So he began to identify what are the needs, what are the problems, and how did he address them. He understood that the reason, and he had this conversation with Mother Earth. And from that, I pointed out, we learn about empathic listening, how he listened to her as to why she was withholding her resources, and how she eventually, it was because of irreligion. So the first role, and I think the primary role of a king is, from the example here, is to establish religious principles, to take advice from brahmanas. And when we speak about brahmanas, we're talking about the qualified brahmanas. We're not talking about the cheating brahmanas. And you know, I'm not trying to be offensive. I'm just, from this pastime here, we see that even Lord Indra introduced cheating. You know, so this is prevalent in society. And how to be fair, it is also said that Prithu Maharaj would treat his enemy's son the same way that he would treat his own son. So if his enemy's son was accused of something but was innocent, he would actually treat him as innocent. But if his own son had done something wrong, he will treat him as he would treat anybody who had done something wrong. No favoritism. And we see how with taxes, the collection of taxes, they were not used for himself, but rather for be put back and saved for a time when society would need those monies. Another question here is, Maharaj Parikshit was also an exemplary king. Please tell us about this glorious king. Thank you. So there's so much to be said about Parikshit Maharaj, but I'll just give one short example here. Parikshit Maharaj was a great devotee of Lord Krishna. The fact that he was saved by Lord Krishna when he was still in the womb of his mother, when the Brahmastra weapon came for him, showed how dear he was to Krishna, that Krishna personally protected him. So do you think that when Shringi cursed him to die within 7 days from the bite of a snake bird, that he couldn't be protected? He could have been protected. He could have, prayed for protection. He could have counter-cursed. But he didn't engage in these things. He understood that sooner or later death is going to come. And if I have been cursed now, and by the way, he was wrongfully cursed. If one looks at that pastime as well, he could have counter-cursed, he could have prayed for Krishna to save him, to extend, all of these things could have happened, but he didn't. He set the perfect example of how we should live our bodies. And he left behind, you see, there's so many lessons that I could speak of here. We see kings and leaders cling to power. But Parikshit Maharaj didn't cling to power. He accepted, let me take these 7 days to perfect my life. Let me take these 7 days to make inquiries and learn the goal of life and ask the pertinent questions in this assembly of great sages. And in so doing, he left behind for all of us the blueprint to help us in our own lifetimes. What a wondrous, gift for us. And in the process of him, for 7 days and 7 nights, without eating, drinking, anything, just continuously being absorbed in Krishna Katha. So Parikshit Maharaj, is such a wonderful, exemplary king. Another thing that comes to mind, and I'm so sorry, I'm just so inspired by this question right now. Even we see how Parikshit Maharaj traveled throughout his kingdom, and in the far corners of his kingdom, how he came across the personification of Kali, who was beating up a cow and a bull, And he could understand that the influence of Kali was already entering society. And he was ready to kill Kali, but he was also very practical. He understood that it was inevitable. And especially when Kali surrendered to him for protection, he saw his role as the king as also someone who has to protect anyone who surrenders to them. And so he gave Kali protection in the sense that the five vices, that sinful life will take place in these 4 places: meat eating, intoxication, gambling, illicit sex life. And then the 5th place is wherever there is gold. Because if you've got gold, you've got money, and with money, you can do all of these other sinful activities, the other 4. So that is another wonderful example of Parikshit Maharaj. I know we've got like 4 minutes left, and I'm not sure, there's a number of questions. I'm happy if you want to see me personally, but I know there's some announcements to be made as well. So I will be here after the program if there's any other questions that I haven't answered, and you feel that you'd still like for me to discuss it with me, I will try my best to answer your questions. You're welcome to see me. But I think in the remaining minutes, there's some gifts to give out and some announcements to make. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, and a very, very big thank you to Her Grace Champakalata Mataji. Thank you for your very inspiring words and such a profound class. So yes, I do have a few announcements to make. Ramayan Week will be running from the 19th to the 27th of March, and you can follow all social media platforms for more information about that. And the Women's Forum will be launching an online book club on Wednesday, the 18th of March, and this is at 7 p.m. To join, you can please contact members of the Women's Forum. I know the Women's Forum has had a previous presentation, so you can contact any of the ladies as well as myself. I'm also on the Women's Forum, and we can give you more information. So our very first book launch taking place on Wednesday, the 18th of March at 7 p.m. Also, you can hand all receipt books and monies collected to His Grace Balaram Prabhu and Rupa Vilas Prabhu for the festival, from the festival team, and hand both items at the book counter. So we do know that Rath Yatra is taking place in just a few weeks, and that's from the 3rd to the 6th of April. Lots of excitement, lots of planning and preparation taking place. So we all are very, very excited about that. Please do get involved in service. There's so much of service available. Today's Sunday Love Feast was very lovingly prepared by Anantadev Prabhu and the Reservoir Hills Namahata. So let's give them a round of applause. And as Her Grace Champakalata Mataji mentioned, there's beautiful book sets that we have available. If there's anybody that's joining us here for the very first time, or perhaps you've come through maybe just a few times, you're new to the temple, please raise your hands. Please come through, please feel free. We have 5 books that we'd like to give away today. So you're more than welcome to come through and receive a book. Please don't feel shy. I did see that there were a few other families and people that have just joined us. So please come through, don't feel shy. These are lovely book sets. Anybody else? Yes, come through, Mataji. Let's give her a round of applause. Hare Krishna, and a lovely young boy here. Let's give him a round of applause. And to Mataji as well, welcome to our temple. Anybody else? We have one more book. Anybody interested? Okay, not a problem. You can also see us at the end of the program if you change your mind and you'd like a book. I do see someone sitting in the back, and I think maybe you're a little nervous, Mataji, sitting next to Sanam. Would you like to come through? Yes, let's give her a round of applause. Hare Krishna, welcome to our temple, and a special gift for you. And just before we conclude with this morning's program, I have Her Grace Vashanti Devi Dasi that would like to address us. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna everybody, my name is Vasanti Devi Dasi from ISKCON Cape Town, and I'm here just to help Rukmini Devi Dasi with her famous Bhakti Cloud tent which takes place at Rath Yatra every year. So the goal of this tent is an outreach tent to help artistic, creative and inquisitive people find a nice bridge entry into such a wonderful cultural and spiritual festival. She's been running the tent for more than 13 years, and what we're looking for today is some volunteers. So we're asking for maybe 2 or 2.5 or 3 hours on any of the 4 days if you can volunteer. And if that appeals to you, you can find me at the Sunday Love Feast downstairs in the marquee, or else just look for myself or Rukmini's phone number and we'll be happy to engage you. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, and thank you so much, Mataji. And we now will move on to the last part of our program, that is Aarti and Kirtan. Thank you once again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you all next week. Hare Krishna. May we please all rise.
श्री श्री राधा राधानाथ की, श्री राज गोवर्धन की, जय चैतन्य महाप्रभु की, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। नमो ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी वस्तुत्यादेशधारिणे। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी द्वादशधारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram Jaya Radha Nath Radha Nath Shri Radhe, Radha Nath Shri Radhe, Jaya 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 Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Jaya Gaura Hari, Jaya Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Gaura Hari, Jaya Gaura Hari, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Harinam Sangidan, hey! Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribhajakacharya Ashtatara Shishimar His Divine Grace Sarvabhauma Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Maharaj Ge Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribhajakacharya Ashtatara Shishimar His Divine Grace ISKCON Founder Acharya BBD Founder Acharya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Prema Sikho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadadhar Shivashri Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Shri Tirupati Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Shri Rup Shri Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jivagavad Dasaraganath Sad Goswami Ki Lakshmi Nrsimhadev Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki तुलसी देवी भक्ति देवी वृंदा देवी महारानी के हरिनाम संकीर्तन के गौर भक्तबिन के श्री श्री राधा राधानाथ के शिवन महाप्रभु के Gopramanande, all glory to the small devotees, all glory to the small devotees, all glory to the small devotees, all glory to the Shri Guru, Shri Gurunga, Srila Prabhupada, Ki. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Namaste Narasinghayo. Namaste Narasinghayo. Proladala Dadayina. Proladala Dadayina. Hiranyakashipon Bhakshaha. Shilatankam Nakalaya. Itona Shinga Padatona Shinga. Yata Yataya Mitatona Shinga. Yatoya Toya Mitatona Shingo. Bahina Shingo Didayana Shingo. Bahina Shingo Didayana Shingo. Nashingamarim Sharanam Prapadai. Narashingamarim Sharanam Prapadai. Tavataro Kamala Bhare Naka Abhuta Shindam Dalita Hiranya Kashipo Tanu Bringo Keshavadeta Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadesha Hare Jai Jagadesha Hare Jai Jagadesha Hare. Keshavadita Nolohare Rovan Jai Jagaresha Hare Jai Jagaresha Hare Jai Jagaresha Hare. Jaya Lachingare, Lushingare, Lushingare, Jaya Lushingare. Jaya Lakshmi Lashingo, Lakshmi Lashinga, Lakshmi Lashinga, Jaya Lakshmi Lashingo. Nitai Gaur Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribol. Nitai Gaur Haribol, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribol. भक्त विघ्न विनाश श्री नृसिंहदेव भगवान के श्री भक्त श्रेष्ठ श्री प्रहलाद महाराज के गोविंदे।